Hello, internet passers-by. Welcome back to NAPcast. As always, I'm Roland the host. Joining me once again is Sean.
Hello, I'm cold.
And Melina.
What the fuck is up, my buddies?
Oh, it's your potties now.
Your potties.
You're claiming
Yeah, they're mine now.
You're playing them against us.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm starting an army.
Wow.
Anyone who likes to be a potty can join.
I would try and rise an army against you, but I don't think anyone likes me that much.
You can take the rejected name of the nappies. You can have that.
Are you calling me shit?
No, that was the working title. For
No, I remember.
potties,
I remember, but it's funnier to say you're calling me shit.
So does that mean I've got the weeb army then? Because obviously I
You can
did
have them. I don't
Are
want
you
them.
really shocked?
Yeah, I don't know if I want them though either.
Okay, you know what? I am of the misfits.
I'm not sure it's a hill I want to die on. At least not with them.
Not with them.
Die on your own terms.
Not with the sweaty little basement dweller. I'm shit talking an audience of our other podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope they'll never
It's
hear
a
this
fucking
one.
brand, man.
They know. They know.
It's always very self-deprecating when I say stuff like that. So hopefully,
Yeah, I mean, I know self-deprecation. I just called myself unlikable.
yeah,
so.
yeah. So today's episode, since we're still in the introduction, I got a new piece of
A shiny little new toy.
Technology.
a Valve Steam Deck, and I think it's fair to say that most people aren't really gonna know what it is. As far as gaming hardware goes, it's definitely of the more niche
Yeah.
variety.
I know what it is.
Uh-huh.
I know about it, but I've never actually. This is the first time I'm seeing it in real life.
Yeah,
or anything about it.
I've never met anyone in person that I know that has one. So when I got mine, it was the first time I seen it in person.
They're very spenny.
Yes, they are
Yes.
very expensive. So I think that's the first thing to go and explain is that there's two different versions that you can buy right now. There's the LCD version and there's the OLED version, and I bought the OLED version. The LCD version is slightly cheaper, though it's sort of being phased out. It had a couple of different variations you could buy: the 64GB one, the 128, 256, and 512 and 1TB, I think.
That makes sense.
Most of them have been phased out except the 256
That's
gigabyte.
the sort of ideal spot they found,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, we'll
In
get
terms of
to-
a marketing or capitalistic sense.
I'd say price wise, probably not. So if I bring
Okay.
up the, I'll quickly bring up the Steam page for them.
I am not an expert.
You think I am?
No, I'm just stating.
I am most out of the gaming world.
Yeah,
Duh.
yeah.
But I heard about it and
Yeah.
seen some bits about it, but again, I don't know
Yeah.
exactly.
You are the student.
I am a student.
He is the teacher. I'm the intermediate.
Yeah. So if you want to get a Steam Deck, they start at £349. That's for the 256GB LCD model, which, as it says, has an LCD screen with a resolution of 1280 by 800, 7-inch diagonal display size, 60Hz refresh rate, an AMD APU. Not sure on its clock speed or RAM because they don't directly list it here on the page, and I only know what the OLED version has because I now have one, and obviously you can check that in your own system.
Really,
Then
they don't tell you that up front, though.
yeah, it is a bit odd, but then
Could you find it if you really tried looking
I'll try
for
and
it?
find it just
Yeah, you can
now.
probably find
Yeah.
people who have them that
Exactly,
post
yeah.
them, but
So if
I
I look
think
for-
so. It's no, we won't tell you. It's a surprise.
Okay,
It's a mystery
so
box.
the
Would you like a free mystery box?
I've been offered 5 at this point. I don't want a mystery box.
that is the
Those scam emails would fuck
there
off
it is.
already.
okay. So if you go to the actual Steam Deck website rather than
Okay.
the Steam page, you have a 3.5 gigahertz AMD APU with 16 gigs of DDR5 RAM. So that's basically the same as the OLED, except the OLED one has a slightly better processor. It's built on slightly newer architecture. So the LCD model is based on slightly older architecture that was the same as the processor in my PC that I got rid of not too long ago.
Okay.
The architecture used for the processor in this one is the same as the CPU you have in your PC right now.
Nice.
The
That's pretty
Ryzen
good.
7 3700. So Zen 2. Whereas the first one was also Zen 2, but a slightly older version of Zen 2.
Okay.
More efficient, better in general, even for the same specs.
Overall.
Yeah, overall. Obviously, the main difference is the screen and size. I don't know the main, like, it's only like 0.4 inches of a difference in screen size, but I'm not sure what that would be like in the hand or to use.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't be able to tell much of a difference.
No, I'm not sure if it's something like the Switch where it's only minimally different in terms of like how it affects the console size.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the specs. And then obviously main difference, OLED screen. So the OLED model comes in two variations. You can either get the 512GB or the 1TB. Now the 1TB actually has a different panel for the front of the screen. It's let me see if I can find exactly how they describe it here. Premium anti-glare etched glass. So it's got more of a matte finish.
Okay.
Which means when you're under certain lighting conditions, you're not going to have that same reflection or glare as you would on a normal screen. So like if you were to look at it, you can't see your reflection as clearly as you would and say your phone like when it's off.
I'm holding it right now and I really want to play it.
So yeah, I'll let you see what that is.
Oh yeah, like a barely there reflection.
Yeah,
like
it's more soft and diffuse than
It is
would
sort
be.
of less clear, I think, than like the Switch would have.
Yeah,
but-
the Switch has a really bad
Yeah.
like reflectivity on its screen. So yeah, I plumped for the 1TB version. That is £589.
Oh,
The 512GB version is 469.
nice.
Or is it 400? Hold on.
I'm in the middle of a yawn and I think that couldn't happen better.
479. Sorry, 479 is 569 for the 1TB version. So there's about £100 of a difference for the hard drive and the screen. And literally all it comes with when you get it is it comes in this long cardboard box, and it's the carry case with the Steam Deck inside it and the charging cable.
I wanted to ask, like, oh, you get the carry case with it?
Yes.
Thank God.
Yeah, 100%. This is the type of thing that like.
Oh, it just costs like 40 quid extra.
Yeah, exactly. If you're spending that much, I'd demand a fucking carry case.
You can optionally get a dock for it to hook it up to TV or external components, because this is essentially a laptop in your hand.
Yeah, that's what it kind of looks like, really.
Because
That's what I mean.
But the functionality seems
the thing that I don't think Valve are marketing particularly well about it is just how robust it is as a machine. But then again, how do you market something like that to a casual gamer?
Yeah, like
Especially at the price point that it is. Because that is the same price as a PlayStation 5
yeah.
Yeah.
for a handheld gaming thing. That isn't as capable as the PlayStation 5 because it doesn't have the same suite of features. You know, you don't get ray tracing, you don't get that same crisp 4K output.
And the load screen sort of thing that like the PS5 has with like the SSDs.
Yeah, well, this is an SSD inside it, so
Yeah, I
the
know.
load times are pretty quick.
Okay.
So it does take advantage of that. Like playing
Okay.
Final Fantasy 14, the load times are about as fast as the PS5.
Okay, so that's fair then.
So yeah, it's a very impressive piece of technology.
Yeah,
It looks,
Is this gonna get us copyright?
I mean, just
oh
from-
yeah.
Oh, that's so fucking cool. It's currently a custom like PS2 startup
Split screen. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. That's
then-
nostalgia. But
Wait for it.
it's gonna.
So that's, you know, the sort of customizability that you can get from it, because this thing is just running Linux.
Yeah.
So I'm in the main screen right now, which is your sort of
just say,
Steam homepage.
Go back to the marketing. I think it's they've kind of not, but they've also kind of have like tried to make it in like a sort of upgraded Switch sort of thing, but like
Yeah, which I think is the wrong market to go for, because I don't feel like it's competing with the Switch as a handheld device.
No.
Yeah, like outside of that, like if they market it that way, I feel like most people are gonna go, oh, a Switch isn't that powerful compared to a PC or that thing, so it's gonna really underpower what it can do.
Because the Switch is also not close to this price point. It's round about half price
Exactly.
of this, even if you're going for the OLED model of that. Then again, you are buying a Switch which comes with all of its
little things.
You get that Nintendo Premium.
the
library and stuff.
With the Switch, I think it's a kind of problem now that we're nearing its end of lifespan.
That's true,
where you're kind of like, okay, there's more games than the Wii U, but I don't feel like its library is still that compelling.
No, it's definitely not like a Wii type scenario where that had
no.
so many good
And
games.
even with third-party support, which the Wii U didn't have for the most part, you're usually getting compromised versions where they're having
get
to
on a PS5.
Yeah, like the Mortal Kombat 1 release, which was so bad when it launched. It had no facial animations for characters. It had 30-second load times from character select to fighting. It had heavily reduced graphical quality. So, you know, if you're buying something like that on the Switch, you're kind of having to tailor your experience in the sense of picking things you know are gonna run well or good on the Switch, or are
possibly
designed
buying
for
a
it.
really scuffed version of it.
Yeah, or you're buying a very scuffed version of it.
Just a shout out to the time I got The Witcher 3 on Switch.
Oh yeah, why would you do that?
Because I thought it would be good. I was told it was one of the greatest games of all time, and I figured since it was a complete edition, the Switch version would be good.
But even, you know, running on the Switch, you still can't attain even the PS4 level of, you know, graphical fidelity.
Yeah.
Unless it's a certain type of game, but even then there's some drawbacks. And my big complaint about the Switch, just to sort of wrap up the comparisons here, is the controllers. I fucking despise Joy-Cons, and I'm not a big fan of the Pro Controller either.
That's fair.
To the point I went out of my way to get an adapter for my dock so I could use my DualSense when I was playing in docked mode. This is an absolute fucking dream.
Yeah, you can
to
even
use.
just holding it.
Yeah, they've essentially taken a Xbox One controller, changed the triggers, and then shoved it in a handheld. The D-pad's much better because on an Xbox One, the D-pad is very clicky. This is a bit more spongier and it's nice in between. And then the joysticks are very nice, and that's my main complaint with the Switch.
They don't feel very like...
No, you cannot look in a proper circle, and it is very hard to find the middle ground of not sensitive enough and far too sensitive on the Switch, that any first-person game is just unplayable in handheld mode on a Switch.
When I really looked at it and like really held it, I kept making the comparison to the Wii U controller, which... Say what you will about the Wii U and its failings, and there's a lot, but the controller for the Wii U gamepad felt really good and really like comfy to use. Yeah, where like I still think it's way better than how the actual Switch feels in your hands.
I've never seen or held a Wii U.
I've held them once,
but like slightly bulkier.
I figured. Yeah.
I think an extra benefit, you know, you're paying quite a high price for a premium product. These two little raised squares, these are trackpads.
I figured they were trackpads.
Yeah. And on the back, you've got extra buttons that you can, because every game only ever maps the default controller layout, which is, you know, the face buttons, D-pad, joysticks, triggers. You can map these to anything you want because Steam already has a really good controller interface. But on the Steam Deck, it's way more robust, where you can set up just about any single controller configuration you want for this, whether it's a single button or you can map it to like essentially be a macro where it does multiple presses at once to achieve a certain thing, or you can set it to mouse buttons. So if you're playing like a game like Minecraft, you could set it even to keyboards. So like if we were playing our mod pack that we play on, I could map these back buttons to cover the fact that you obviously don't have like the J, M, N key that we need for some of the mods that we use. So I can map them there and easily get access to our waypoints and our map from that. Currently in Final Fantasy 14, I have it mapped so that I can switch my taskbars by pressing these, because not taskbars, hotbars, so that I can get access to my different layouts, so that I can get different attacks and abilities while raiding and stuff like that. So it's very
convenient.
Yeah, it's very easy to set up as well. So yeah, like I said, in the Steam interface right now, but if I hold down the power button, it brings up this menu, or I can press Steam and go down to power, and there's a switch to desktop option. And when I hit that, we'll leave the Steam interface, and eventually we'll get this neat little splash screen, and then we're on the desktop.
Wow.
And I get the trackpad here.
Nice. So can I ask a very stupid question? So the Steam Deck, is it like a product of Steam?
Valve. So Valve owns Steam.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
because if you notice on the back.
Yeah, I saw Valve. I was like, what does that have to do with anything?
yeah.
So Valve owns Steam, but like I think more
okay,
people are going to be familiar with Steam
Exactly.
at this point.
Steam is its own brand at
Yeah.
this point, really.
Yeah.
So right trackpad controls the mouse. Right trigger is left click.
Yeah.
And then left trigger is right click. And if I were on a web page, this would let me scroll up and down. So that it's a bit fucky sometimes on the web page. Sometimes you'll be scrolling down and it'll start going up and you have to go the other way, and it'll fuck about with you for a bit. But
That feels about right.
You know.
but it works, and it's a full desktop environment here running on Linux. So I can get settings. As you can see, I've got a custom wallpaper.
Fucking weep.
You have full access to settings, and it's very easy to like actually get stuff set up. Like I have a folder here for my suspend videos, because unlike the boot videos that you see are randomized, because I've shown you one before we started recording there, and then I showed you guys one when I booted up here. Suspend videos can only be set to one particular thing because you need to rename it. So I know where the folder is, so now all I need to do is drag one of those in, rename it to the appropriate video, move the old one out, and there you go. So yeah, I've got like a couple of different ones in there. Right now I'm just using a very simple CRT turn off animation.
That makes sense.
So yeah, questions, because I'm sort of, I've had stuff that I wanted to explain, and now I'm kind of.
What have you played on it?
Yeah, that's
lot.
the
And
first question.
why is there any game you were like, any game that was the reason to get it, where you were like, I fucking want to play this on this?
I already know this answer.
It was Final Fantasy 14, which comes with a story as to how you get it running on here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got to witness part of that.
So if you buy a Steam Deck and, like me, you want to play Final Fantasy 14 on it, don't follow most of the guides online because they're fucking wrong. And I had to find this out the hard way. So the guide I followed explained it this way. You go to the desktop mode, you go to the launcher download site from Square Enix, download the Windows version, add it to your Steam as a non-Steam game, change the Proton compatibility because it's running Linux, not Windows, to experimental, run it, install it into the normal folder, which is the default location, go to that path, copy that path somewhere, download from the Linux App Store or Discover Store here a thing called 14 Launcher, which is a third-party launcher for the game, which I use on desktop anyway. Download that, add that to your Steam as a non-Steam game, go into game mode,
Which does make sense.
yes,
I
so
promise.
return to gaming mode, launch 14 Launcher, tell it where your install is, log in, it'll download the game properly because the installer doesn't install the full game. The launcher installs the full game. Log in, play, you're grand. Except if you restart, that install will get wiped.
Oh.
For some reason. What you actually have to do is much simpler and includes way less steps. It's way less complicated. You just need to download the free trial version of Final Fantasy XIV from Steam. Because of Japanese tax purposes, the Windows version you can download from Square Enix's website directly, and the version on Steam are two separate things. If you have an account on Steam, you can't use that account to log into the downloadable launcher from Square Enix. You can use it on the console version, that's fine, but not on that. And so because I have the non-Steam version, I thought I had to go through that process. No, you just download the free trial version from Steam. You download 14 Launcher, add that to Steam as a non-Steam game, go into its gaming mode, launch that, tell it where the free trial is, which is much easier. It's a much easier path to navigate to, especially if you've ever modded something on Steam.
Yeah,
you'll know.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Tell it it's there.
Melina's over there like,
Tell it it's there, log in, it'll download, and you're grand, and I've never had a problem since. It's still there, I've restarted, it's fine, it works.
You sound very sure.
It does, because I have restarted my console.
Okay, cool.
So, I have run a few games. I decided to download a bunch of stuff. I don't know how I've opened settings when it's going back to gaming mode. So, I have a bunch of notes.
Ooh.
So, obviously I started with Final Fantasy XIV.
Duh.
It runs really smoothly, and you can pretty much crank it up to the highest laptop configuration settings, since there's actually one of the custom boot videos.
I thought you'd start up, I'm gonna be honest.
No, that's one of my custom boot videos.
The quality is really good.
Yeah. It runs really smooth on the laptop settings, which makes sense. If I were to go to desktop, it'd probably chug it a little bit. You can set it to high, and it does run. It runs really well, but the fan gets really loud. So I decided to turn it down to standard. It doesn't compromise the quality too much at that resolution, but you are losing some quality in the lighting and in the shadows, which can make character models already look a bit more than they already do, since we're waiting
What's wrong with your face?
Since we're currently waiting for the graphics update to come with the next expansion. I've also tried Wolfenstein The New Order, which I was hoping to have fully played through by the time this came out, but then when we recorded this, but I bought Armored Core, so that idea got fucked up.
So that derailed you a little.
It did. And that runs really smoothly. It's 60 FPS, but the cutscenes are locked at 30 FPS. That's all I really have to say. Final Fantasy XIV does mostly run at 60 FPS, which is like your sort of minimum target for older games is what you're wanting. I derailed myself. Wow.
Games you play.
Yeah. Wolfenstein's from 2014, so it's sort of like that prime era where you're going to have no issues. It does have a 60 FPS hard cap, because the OLED model has a 90 Hz refresh rate screen, so you could run up to 90 FPS.
Yeah, but it can't go any faster.
But it can't go any higher than that.
Impossible.
Yeah, it's literally locked at that. I then downloaded Cyberpunk 2077 and this 2077, and that was the one I was most interested in trying out, because as a PC game, purely talking about the PC port here, it is pretty much the showcase for all of the current developments in graphics, in terms of the different suite of features that you can get from the graphics cards and the features that it supports through those. And there's a specific Steam Deck preset for the graphics in Cyberpunk, so I thought, great, this is going to run really well, except it doesn't.
Oh.
You set it to the Steam Deck profile, excuse me, and it defaults the texture quality to high, which does make sense because I can run Armored Core at higher medium textures, and it runs really well. But in Cyberpunk, it just does not remain anywhere near stable. If you're inside, or if you're in one location when you load in, you'll run at a really nice nice level of stability. As soon as you leave, as soon as it has to load anywhere else, which in an open world game, kind of
has to.
Yeah. It just does not maintain 30 FPS. And like that is the bare minimum you need to play a game. I tried setting the texture quality at low. It provides no difference in performance, barely does in visuals either. Other settings I could probably have turned down, but I wasn't sitting and fiddling through every single setting, from lighting to shadows to ambient occlusion to screen space reflections to all these different things. Because if there is a specific preset that CD Projekt Red have set up specifically for this piece of hardware, I'd expect it to work. I would not fully expect myself to have to sit there and fiddle with everything just to see if I could get it to maintain the bare minimum of stability. So I was disappointed by that, I have to admit.
Especially for a game that has like a specific preset Steam Deck settings build.
And because one problem I ran into is that at one point it literally just seized up. It was running at 1 to 3 FPS and I couldn't do anything. I had to hard reboot the console.
Christ, that feels... You're basically simulating what it was like on a base PS4 when it first released.
So
there's a whole controversy about that game.
So I then
keeping you informed over there.
So I then Armored Core 6, my game of the year from last year, went on sale, so I bought that and immediately downloaded it. It does boot with a notification saying that it might be hard to read text, and explains how to use the magnification option. So you can press the Steam button and L1 and it'll zoom in the screen. It does say that there's a way to move it around using the right trackpad. In Armored Core, the right trackpad is also tied to the camera, so it fucks around real hard.
There's a problem there.
But generally, don't really need it. Originally, I had it set at the preset for low, went in and changed the texture quality to medium and shadows to medium, locked the refresh rate, because you can do that on here using the Steam Quick Access menu. I can set the frame limit or the refresh rate in the settings. I set that to 40 Hz because that's a nice in between of 30 and 60 to get like really smooth gameplay but also remain stable. And other than one level that dips it to 30 because it's a pretty impressive level, it runs really smooth. I then the other night bumped everything to medium and changed the texture quality to high and the shadow quality to high. It still maintains that same level of performance and it just looks so much better and still plays so well. It does get a bit louder with the fans, but it's not as loud as the laptop high setting for Final Fantasy 14, so I'll take it. And then Power Wash Simulator, it runs perfectly.
Yeah, I imagine so. It's not exactly a high.
Yeah, it's sitting at maximum settings, runs at 90 FPS, but if you're playing for a long time, it will occasionally dip. But I think that's more to do with just like the heating of the console. I have overheated this a couple of times. It's easy done. It is very easy done. Like, I feel it on the back of it right now.
I
it's
feel
pretty
that.
warm and it's not doing anything now.
No, you're not even in a game.
Yeah. Oh, it's nice and toasty.
It is very nice and toasty.
That's like what my Switch feels like in the summer when it's playing a game. I've left it on a place where it's covering the fans.
Hollow Cure.
Oh boy, I hope that runs at such a high fidelity game.
Here's a really interesting thing. Every game, if I go to my library, has a so there's a green tick here on the Aperture desk job thing, and if I go to Armored Core, you'll see there's a little yellow exclamation mark, and if I go down to Doom 3, you see there's a grey X circle. Basically, that means Steam Deck verified. It should run perfectly, although, as we've seen with Cyberpunk, not always the case.
Yeah, you know, pinch of salt.
Yeah. This means
the yellow.
I'll try to see if I can get what it. So you can actually go into every single game and see the info. So it's detailed as playable, and if you go into details,
it's playable.
Well, this is just because it's a classification, but if you go into it, it'll tell you what the issue is. So it says it's got 3 ticks here, and it says all functioning is accessible with default controller configuration. The game shows Steam Deck controller icons, and the game's default graphic configuration performs well on the deck. The only issue is some in-game text is small and may be difficult to read. So that's why Armored Core is only marked as playable and isn't fully verified.
Yeah, because it's gonna have like a not to say fundamental, but it's gonna have a problem like that.
Yeah. Halo does have the same marking, but there is really no issue reading any of the text.
It reminds me of like
MCC.
Sorry, you go.
No, I was just finishing my sentence.
It reminds me a lot of like emulators. If anyone ever uses that, I do not condone it. I have no legal say on how you should use that. But
hey, the Steam Deck's great for emulators, by the way.
What? Who said that? But if you're using like an emulator, it's typical to have like go on like a site that talks about game compatibility with like that specific emulator, because not every emulator is perfect. No emulator is ever going to be really perfect, but specifically with stuff like an original Xbox One, there's like a whole list, and the vast majority are just playable.
Yeah,
a very small amount that are perfect, whereas almost all of those games that are unplayable, you're going to play just fine, and there's going to be very small hiccups. Maybe occasionally. When I try it again, I do not condone. I own the game officially. It's cool. I played Rayman 3 on like an Xbox emulator once, and like everything played completely fine. The only problem was that if you paused it long enough, the graphics would start to fuck up a little bit. But once you unpaused it, it was completely fine.
Okay.
And that's the only problem I have with that game. So that's like that's playable.
Yeah.
And like 90% fine. It's just that one small thing that's gonna fuck it up and make it not be perfect.
And so the third rating here is unsupported, which if you hit details for, Valve's testing indicates this title is unsupported on Steam Deck. Some or all of the game currently does not function on the Steam Deck, except, HoloCure runs just fine.
I don't want to say, is HoloCure like a big game?
No, it's a fan-made HoloLive game that's like a pixel-based.
You don't need a high-end PC.
No, exactly. So maybe they just haven't looked into it, just to play it safe.
Well, they say they've tested it,
it says
which is interesting. Yeah. But there it is. It's running fine. Yeah. I can go in, pick a character.
They just hate VTubers, which fair. But
yeah, I get it.
I've met VTuber fans. I am a VTuber fan. It's fair if you don't want to be anywhere part of that.
Yeah, see, it runs, controls fine. It runs absolutely fine. This is a game that says it's unsupported.
I mean, it looks very low,
That's just the visual.
Effort, but you know what I mean.
Again, fan game.
It's also it's inspired by Vampire Survivor with like that sort of
art style.
Pixel NES, SNES like art
retro
style.
Look.
Yeah. It runs pretty perfectly. It does dip a bit later in certain stages where there's a lot of enemies on screen, but it never dips below 50, so it's fine. Doom 3, again, it says it's unsupported. It runs absolutely perfectly.
I was gonna say, Doom 3, that's an original Xbox game.
The original version of Doom I haven't tested. I've tested BFG.
Okay.
I have a feeling Doom 3 is going to be fucky set up, but mainly because I don't think the original PC version of the original game, has controller support. That would be the main.
That's a big problem.
Yeah. Doom 3 BFG edition, when you open it up, does have a bit of an awkward setup because the default layout mimics a keyboard and mouse setup, which is to have these be clicking and this be WASD, I think, or something about this as well. So you have to go in, enable gamepad function from the settings and anti-aliasing, and then restart and change the controller layout for the game in the Steam settings to controller layout, and it works. It's fine. It's perfect.
It's fine.
Horizon Zero Dawn from 2017. I got it running at high settings with FSR, which is AMD's Fidelity Super Resolution, which is an upscaling technology that means that you can run the game at a lower base resolution, but specifically the AMD version is software based, so which will upscale to your screen resolution. This is a way of getting the same quality but running at a less demanding level, which is good for mid-range computers and stuff like that.
Makes a lot of sense.
So I had it on quality mode, refresh rate, and the in-game FPS cap set to 40. It runs mostly stably, except when you go into new areas, it will dip quite heavily. Heavier combat will usually dip it to 30. It may have traversal stutter. I'd need to confirm that by testing it on my actual PC, which means is that there's an inbuilt, no matter what you do, no matter how capable your PC is, there's a fundamental thing where your FPS is going to dip every so often because of it not correctly loading in shaders ahead of time, which means it's constantly trying to load them as you're moving around the world. I think I may have played it on my deck while it was overheating, so I'm wondering if it may run better and dip less if I hadn't overheated it.
Yeah, that could be a problem.
Yeah. Then the one I was most curious about outside of Cyberpunk was Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Ah, yeah.
And this was genuinely impressive because that game came out in 2020, the same year as Cyberpunk. It is one of the most impressive looking games.
Visually,
yeah.
A feast for the eyes.
And so the version on PC is the same version as the PS5 one, not the version that came out in PS4, which has slightly lower resolution textures and stuff like that. And I can run it at its highest settings and usually maintain 45 to 60 FPS, only dipping to 30 like occasionally as you're going on and the deck heats up. You can lock it to 40 or 45 frames per second to make it more stable, still with the occasional dip, but it's fine. The only problem is when you install it, you have to install a mod that disables dynamic resolution scaling because the Steam Deck's inbuilt screen is only 1280 by 800. The game is constantly trying to run dynamic resolution scaling, which means that for the most part, if you don't have this mod installed, it's going to look blurry as fuck. I don't know why it's constantly engaging dynamic resolution scaling if the game is performing fine, because that's only when it should kick in, as if it's not. And if you fully disable it, it runs fine. So I don't know why it did that. Then the last thing was the Halo Master Chief Collection. And this gave me a really good test bed and variety of visual quality of games to test from. Feel free to pull it out and mess around if you want.
Okay, I'm actually really tempted to...
Sean, you were just staring at it like, please.
Please for me.
So Halo Combat Evolved. The original graphics run consistently at 90 FPS.
It's funny you're talking about Halo as well, because that's the game I really wanted to try on it.
Yeah, put it up. With you'll know this from playing on PC yourself, drops at specific points when auto-saving or loading a part of an area happens. Like, that's just hard tied into the game. It done that on Xbox, it does that on PC, it does that on my PC, which is a high-end piece of
just a fundamental
piece
part.
Of shit. And the remastered version runs exactly the same if you are one of the cretins that wants to play Halo Combat Evolved with the remastered graphics. It looks like ass.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Don't do that.
So Halo Combat Evolved has a very minimal
to briefly go over this.
Remastered decided to take all of that and just turn it up to 11 of maximalist.
So basically, in terms of like actual like environmental designs, like Halo was very minimalist.
Yeah.
It was very sort of like brutalist architecture as well in terms of its like structures. Whereas the anniversary graphics tried to make it look like very much more standard sci-fi and almost like a gaming PC sort of look to sort of describe it.
So, okay, that's the difference in the skybox, but that's not the most egregious. Let's see, where's the Forerunner?
I mean, that looks pretty egregious to me. Where like,
you got like, so that's fine. This is too much.
This is way too sunny, way too bright.
Yeah.
Oh, so
because this is
supposed to be an alien planet.
This is the same level. The time of day never changes, and yet you've gone from like mostly at night, kind of sunset dusk to whatever the fuck this is.
It looks more like sunrise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really in the Forerunner tech that's the problem. Oh, that's a very small image.
Fuck, this looks really good.
Maybe hear little noises.
Yeah, if the mic's picking that up.
Oh, I didn't even notice. Turn that down.
Why is it
I got
always
too
the
immersed.
tiniest?
You just stay silent for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, this is gonna be a good chunk of the episode. I'm sorry, guys.
That's hard to tell. Oh yeah, so this is like that. Those weren't like blue.
Yeah,
There wasn't all this detail here.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, that too. Like that was just, a wall with some depth design. Like we said, the original intent is very brutalist, and then this is just
which works better. I'd say. Especially if you go for more of a creepy-esque.
Yeah, because a lot of the Forerunner levels you're doing in like a very lonely like setting, and then eventually you get introduced to the enemy called the Flood, who kind of take the game
in terms of atmosphere
and take the game into like a more not hard horror direction, but definitely introduce more like horror-like elements. So then to move on to how Halo 2 performs, the original graphics just run perfectly, just like Combat Evolved. The only problem I had was getting the remastered version to run well, because that was from 2014 when the original Xbox launched. And for a 2014 game, it's fucking impressive looking.
Oh, absolutely.
We still have to give it that. I couldn't get it to run at any preset, original or enhanced. It always runs at sub 50 FPS, because original enhanced is something for the PC port. Where they've touched up, things further to be a bit nicer. I want to stay by the way, the Halo 2 remaster graphics are not nearly as egregious.
No. Okay.
Those are nice. Like the team that worked on that, like definitely honored the original far more.
That's good.
Yeah. Like, there's a definite it's just like an upgrade in the graphics and not like a complete design overhaul.
Yeah. There's only marginal improvement on the remaster graphics using FSR, but it does take a really bad visual hit, because obviously it's upscaling. Depending on how it's upscaling or how well it's upscaling it, you're going to get a pretty fuzzy image, or like things are going to have like edges that shimmer and stuff. If you put it to its balance setting, that's where you take the visual hit. Quality does look better and offers around the same performance bump, but you can't run it much higher than like 40 or 50. And if you go into combat, it drops pretty badly.
Yeah.
Halo 3 runs perfectly. Like 2007 Xbox era.
Which, I mean, still looks good for an Xbox 360
still looks good.
game,
It's just that it's like that's gonna run perfectly on that system, no matter what.
Halo 2, right?
Halo Reach runs solidly at 90 FPS with some minor drops, and Halo 4 runs solidly at 90 FPS with some minor drops, only when you're entering new areas. I tested it in combat, and it runs it fine.
It helps that fundamentally all the games don't really go past the 360 era.
No, that's true, yeah.
Like, in terms of graphics, like, 2 Anniversary is the one that went into the Xbox, was for the Xbox One originally, but every other game, like on the Switch, even if it looks really good, it was for all the 360 era.
I did want to test Infinite, I just didn't have time.
That's fine.
And also, I think it would take a lot more tweaking to get it running properly if it can't do 2's remastered graphics.
Yeah, like I've switched to 2 remaster right now, and there's a bit of, it's mostly stable.
You can actually bring up. So if you hit the 3 buttons thing there, and then
I'm dead.
So if you press onto the D-pad and go over, and go up, and then hit A, and then move over.
It's so weird for this to be.
Go. You can just get the FPS, or you can get a full readout by going to 2.
Okay.
And it'll give you the CPU, GPU, everything readout.
Shit, now I feel like I'm in a digital Foundry video.
I think it's similar tech.
Definitely.
That they're running to get that info. But yeah, so it's a really good console. I wish I could have tested out more games just to get like a way more well-rounded overview of the stuff I own to see how it runs.
Yeah, currently for Halo, on the anniversary graphics for Halo 2, it's jumping between 50 and 70.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good, especially, I mean, in like the tank section, so there's a lot of enemies coming around as well, but it plays really well.
So I wonder if that's still
stable.
maintaining the settings I had set up for it last time. Oh, I've switched to anniversary graphics. The original graphics. So if you go to settings, I can't touch screen. Let's see. Video.
You can do it.
So, I think it's just running everything. Yeah, so it's running everything up to 120 frames. I don't have fidelity, super resolution on. It's running everything at high settings. So that's actually better there. So you can just use the controller layout to get back to the game. That's running better there than the opening level.
Wow.
Yeah, it was I tested out the opening level, and I kind of tested out Metropolis there, I think that you're playing.
Yeah, this is Metropolis.
Mainly I tested that one out for the original graphics, but the remaster graphics on Cairo Station, the opening level, did not function really well.
I'm gonna test that out later.
And again, maybe by that point I was playing it on the deck when it was overheating.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's maybe affected performance for the remastered graphics.
I will just quickly jump to Cairo Station.
Because I think when I tested 2 through 4, I had tested everything else back to back. Which was where I ran into the problem of Horizon Zero Dawn overheating, so I took a break, came back, done Final Fantasy VII Remake, and then I think I went Armored Core, and then went into
Cairo Station.
So it's possible I overheated the deck.
Yeah. Skipping the cutscene.
I've never seen Sean so invested in
Yeah.
something.
Dude, I genuinely feel like a kid that's just like got a new console.
Like a kid on Christmas.
Yeah.
I wonder if I sold them on a £580 investment.
Don't do this, son.
Yeah. I genuinely feel like I look like a 5-year-old right now just with this.
Yeah.
Does it help that it's so big in my hand?
Well, your birthday's coming up, so your birthday's coming up.
I don't think
his mum's going to want to spend that much.
I don't think I want anyone spending that much on me. Running pretty well right now.
Oh yeah, it is. It's still 60.
Yeah.
You're not in combat yet, so
Yeah, the Covenant are just about to come.
yeah. So this area, it kind of ran fine. It was when you got to where you can see out the windows and you've got the drop ships coming in the window.
Okay.
Because right now, while stuff is flying past, when you get to that point
It's not like actual models coming in yet.
No, when you get to that point a little bit later, that's when like the space stations outside start blowing up. So I think that started to cause performance dips. But again, if it's running fine now, I'm gonna lean towards I probably overheated the deck by that point.
Yeah,
of
I'll
testing
play up
too.
to there and then just tell you what it's like then. Sorry, I am so invested.
This is the thing, is I wish we kind of had video for this, but also capturing the deck would have been a pain in the ass.
Oh
in the
my
first place.
god. We'd have to
I
have
can
at least
try
4
and narrate
cameras.
my
Yeah.
gameplay right now, but I don't think that's going to help anything.
I mean, like, it's not something that for me is
No.
appealing. Or,
Yeah.
Like,
No,
I've
this-
talked about it. Like, a Switch is as far as I'd go.
Yeah.
Console-wise.
Like there's not much I'd say on Steam for you would warrant
No.
something like that. Because you could build like I think a library of games that you'd probably play on Switch, whereas on that I think it'd be a little more difficult. If only because like games that we play on Steam, you wouldn't really play on that. Like you wouldn't play. You can play Lethal Company on it, but I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't either.
No.
Like I'm not gonna sit in my chair, be on a Discord call with you guys, and then run Lethal Company on that. Like
No,
that's too...
this is a sit in bed type.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like that's all I've done with this is lay in bed and played it. Like
Yeah.
that's the experience you want with it.
Because
Like
that's
really
what
treat it like a
handheld.
portable
Yeah.
console.
Yeah, that's what portable
Yeah.
consoles are for. Do whatever you like.
You can, since it is like a full laptop in your hand, if you use that dock, you can hook it up to a monitor and stuff. I wouldn't play games through it like that because
Yeah,
it
'cause
doesn't really
how-
have the power for
How
it.
would that work? So
Plug
you
in.
dock it like, let's say, a Switch, or
It's a similar idea, but fundamentally looks a bit different. I'm looking at a Switch dock to do Steam Deck.
because the controller itself is integrated in this, would you have
Yeah,
a
so
separate
you would
controller?
need to have a separate controller.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
that is the main
Yeah.
downside. I'm thinking as someone who owns one already, it's not that much of an issue. So that's the official one. I'll see if I
Yeah.
can find a back shot of it. So I think that's the official one, and it's got like USB ports, power, Ethernet port. One of these is power, I think that one, and then you got HDMI and something else.
Because I think like if you're looking to play this as a handheld, I'd say maybe it's a good investment.
Yeah.
Depends on what you play, of course. But if you're just planning on docking it, is there much use?
I guess
at that point just use your PC.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because it's a Linux machine. I mean, you can install Windows on it if you want, but that's a whole thing I'm not going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm at the section right now, by the way, and it's running at a good 80.
Is it still running?
Yeah.
Nice, okay.
So I think you might be right on that over
I may have overheated my deck, yeah. But that's good to know. Yeah, you're being shot from behind.
Being shot.
Yeah, the dock to me, because when I bought the deck, I was like, do I buy the dock as well? And the dock is 60 or 70 pounds.
Oh, yeah. No.
That's.
But other than charging, having like a place to charge it that isn't lying on my desk taking up space, I can't see an actual need for it.
No, exactly.
And I'm not paying £70 for that.
Absolutely not. That's ridiculous.
Do like its design of having a right-angled charging interface. I would have really liked that as the actual charger though, because the charger is the normal USB-C.
Yeah.
So that would have been a neat thing to include. I did buy an adapter for a right angle like insert just so the cable isn't pulling on its weight, because it's such a powerful handheld. The battery can drain really quickly.
Yeah. Because what is the battery life on it? Would you say like?
It's really game dependent. So when I tested it with HoloCure, I played a 20-minute. So 20 minutes, a stage is 20 minutes. That's how long it takes to complete one. And it drained 12% of the battery.
Oh, that's okay.
I can't remember what I then went and tested after it, but I played it for a solid couple hours and it drained to about 19%. I think that was when
a couple hours is good.
I think that was when I done Horizon Zero Dawn. I think I played about 2 hours and it drained to about 19%. So you're looking at, I think, 3 to 4 hours. It does have an improved battery life over the LCD model, which was, I think, an hour or so less. But yeah, as far as the dock goes, not entirely sure what the use case for it would be.
Yeah, like, if you don't have any other consoles,
maybe.
But
you're gonna then need to buy a controller. You're gonna need to buy a mouse and keyboard too.
Yeah. At that point, why?
Yeah.
Why bother?
Because like if I were to get the dock and hook it up to my TV, which again,
why?
My TV or my PC monitors, why? I'm adding extra steps to the fact that I already have a PC there. I'd need to hook up the keyboard and mouse that I use for my PC. So again, it's adding an extra layer
steps.
of
Okay, I played through that whole section and that didn't go really beyond. It didn't really dip below 60.
Well, that's good. I must have overheated the deck, and for it to still perform around 50-ish at that point of being overheated is good.
Yeah.
Like it maybe dipped like slightly on like 57.
Yeah, but I was constantly below 50 at the time.
Yeah,
so
then I think overheating was I'm gonna stop now because I'm getting too into it.
Would you like to test anything, Melina?
Honestly, no.
No? Okay, fair enough.
It has no appeal to me, this type of console, really. Because there's, again, nothing I play on it, nothing that interests me.
You can download Lethal Company on that.
Because I grew up, I had a Nintendo DS.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then we had a Wii, so...
Okay, fair enough.
Casually, I think that's something everyone like had in our generation.
Yeah, but that's like the only things I had, so it's not like, oh, I didn't have a PSP, I didn't have an Xbox around, I didn't have a PlayStation around, so I'm just not familiar with games for those, so I don't really care.
You weren't hardcore.
I was hardcore now. I played Minecraft though.
Well, that is a game I tried to get running on this, specifically the mod pack we use. But I kept running into problems. So the launcher I had to download in desktop mode because you can't download CurseForge on this. So I had to use a launcher that interfaces with CurseForge. One problem I ran into, apparently because CurseForge is sort of open source, mod developers can tag their mods to not be shown on third-party launchers. And I think a solid 20 of the mods in our mod pack were listed as that, so I couldn't. It offers a way of overriding the download, which essentially opens a web page and manually downloads it from the Curse of Forge website for you. I then ran into the problem where it wouldn't put them in the folder correctly. So the only thing I can think is to copy over the install from my PC. But
so much effort.
That seems like so much effort, and getting it over from there is going to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, and just to play Minecraft.
Just to play Minecraft,
which you're probably going to play on your PC anyway.
Exactly, because I have the shaders on the PC, so I can't. Yeah, I wanted to test it just to see how it ran, how our mod pack functioned on it, since it's a mod pack.
It was good to test.
Yeah. Couldn't get it running. Didn't have time to copy over my install from PC. But if you're having to do that, I think that's very much not something you want to be doing.
It's not optimal.
No, that's where I draw the line too much ever. I really don't mind some of the extra steps that are needed to get certain games running on this. But if I'm having to pull stuff from my PC, that I'm not doing, because it means I'm going to have to upload it to Google Drive or something, because I don't have USB-C drives, and I don't have an SD card for this thing, and I don't know if I doubt it would format to a proprietary file format like the Switch does and stuff like that. But again, it adds in a step of complication I'm not really wanting to do. However, I do want to bring up this thing is very customizable. So I have a thing called Deck Loader installed, and what this lets me do is add a whole bunch of stuff to the interface, or just add in extra stuff. So if you go into any of the game pages right now, you can actually see how long it beats information. So how long it roughly takes to beat the main story and extras, or completionist.
That's nice.
Which isn't a normal thing that Steam shows, but it's one of the things I installed via Decky. I also have MetaDeck, which I ended up not using. But the idea behind it is if you install stuff like Minecraft or the extra Final Fantasy XIV launcher, you can use that to fill in like its information properly. Because if you add it in manually, it's not going to have cover. If I go in here, it's not going to have this banner with the name and stuff. Instead, what I did for that was used Steam Grid DB, which lets me press the sort of start key on this here and go to change artwork, and I can edit all the different bits of artwork, and I can select all manner of different ones from the community uploads. So that's why my Final Fantasy XIV launcher that I need to use to get into the game looks different from the free trial version here.
I did actually wonder that when I was looking at it.
So the way that functions is I go into that launcher, log in, put in my authentication, my one-time passcode from my authenticator, and it then says, cool, we're loaded up, press the Steam button, and when you press the Steam button, if there's a game running, it normally comes up here. What it's already done is load the other version in the background, and you switch to it, and it logs you in. It essentially bypasses, I think, the free trial authentication or something. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not going to act like I know how it works.
Okay.
The current,
just don't break it.
Yeah. Currently how it looks, like visually with the interface, is also custom.
I think.
That is from CSS Loader, and this lets me install a whole bunch of different stuff. Full suspend for custom suspend videos means that when I press the button, it takes up the full screen. If not, it's like a little box in the middle. I have an Outrun theme, it's just like a cyberpunk type theme, so if I turn it off there as it looks kind of boring. Turn it back on, looks very nice. I have a couple other ones. So I got round, which rather than square, this is a very simple one, rather than square pictures, it's got rounded edges.
Wow.
It's just a nice
thing.
a little thing.
Little touches.
I've got better game icons here. I don't know what that does. I can't remember anyway. Not sure. I also have other themes too, or did I delete them? Oh no, there we go. So I got Material U, which tries to replicate, I think it's the Google Material theme. This is a custom color scheme. It's hard to get one that looks nice. I still don't think the purple one looks very nice that I've custom made myself, because that's not the kind of purple I selected it to do. Still doesn't look great. And there was another theme. I might have deleted that. I think I did.
Oh well.
But yeah, so CSS Loader allows you to customize like the full interface and stuff. There was one that let me manually change the color of everything. That was really hard to balance readability against though, and things not looking just glaringly bright or bad. But yeah, so I've also got a Discord status thing, though I've not used it a whole bunch. It essentially allows you to, by adding Discord to the Steam interface, logging in, it'll run it in the background and it'll show my status as playing the Steam Deck and what game I'm playing. Functionally, that's cool. In practice, it's a pain in the ass to put Discord up all the time, especially because if someone messages you, you hear the notification sound, and it means I don't get notifications to my phone. So
yeah,
functionally, it's not great.
Sounds similar to like sometimes what it's like playing some games on Steam while Discord is up on my PC.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll just turn Discord off because either somehow the Discord overlay doesn't work or whatever, and like it's just gonna be easier to get up on my phone instead.
So yeah, another cool thing real quick is that you can set there's the performance tab here in the quick access menu, and you can set it up per game. So if I go into Armored Core, it'll actually enable the per game profile for Armored Core and turn the frame limit down to 40. That's the only thing I have changed, but you can change a lot of stuff. Like you can disable frame limits, which I might try in Wolfenstein actually. You can turn on allow tearing. Not sure why you would do that. That essentially overrides any VSync setting you would have on.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Half rate shading is a thing. I don't really understand, but it's meant to save power. You can manually set the power limit from 15 watts down to whatever you want. You can manually clock the GPU. You can set manually in here scaling. So like if a game doesn't have like internal upscaling tech, if you set it to a lower resolution, you could enable FSR directly from the Steam thing here and essentially get the same results. I tried it in I can't remember what game I tried it in. It wasn't great.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. Someone had recommended to on like Reddit or something, when running Final Fantasy 7 after doing the whole disable dynamic resolution, is run it at a slightly lower resolution and turn on FSR so that it would upscale to the screen resolution and you would get better performance.
It did not.
It does ish, but the game runs fine without it, and the game looks like ass with it. So
okay, so there's no point.
No, text also became actually unbearably unreadable. And and it's another game that, like, even though it's verified, it should have that distinction of like text is hard to read sometimes. Yeah. I think it's worse than Armored Core for the most part. So yeah, that's the Steam Deck. It's a very capable bit of kit.
Yeah,
very robust.
Yeah. And actually play.
Very dynamic. Very customizable. I'm sure that, you know, over the course of for however long I own this, I'll discover more that I want to do or can do with it. I'll play more games in it. But as a first impression, it is a very, very nice piece of hardware. I'm happy to own it. I also think, like, aesthetically and design wise, it is very, very nice. Like the fact that there's nothing but the SD card reader on the bottom is a fantastic decision, because the Switch having the charging port at the bottom, while I know functionally it's needed for the dock, is a pain in the ass if you want to lie in bed and play it and you need to charge it at the same time.
Yes.
Having the charger on top, cool idea. Could really do with coming with a right angled charging cable if they were going to do that. Which makes no sense that the dock has a right angled adapter, as you can see on the screen there, like for interfacing with it.
I almost messed up because I was
so yeah, the dock comes with the interface cable being right angled, which plugs into the USB-C port. Not sure why they couldn't have just made the charging cable that it came with
right angled.
Right angled.
Yeah.
Haven't tried headphones with it yet, but it does have full Bluetooth functionality. It has a standard 3.5. Yeah. But since I'm usually just playing in bed, I have TV on.
Yeah.
I'm not really.
Why would you bother with that?
Yeah. And it has a pretty decent set of speakers in it already. So, which is my main complaint. Even with the OLED Switch, the speakers are better than the LCD version of the Switch, but they're still shit. So, Yeah, I've talked for a long time about this.
I mean, it's a cool piece of tech.
So there we go. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty.
It's been an hour.
Yeah. So yeah, I look forward to spending more time with this. Yeah, Final Fantasy XIV's the most played game I have right now at almost 16 hours.
Shock.
But I'll be playing the rest of Armored Core. I'll finish Wolfenstein. I've got the rest of the Wolfenstein games there too.
I'm trying to be as careful as possible. This is a very expensive thing.
I definitely see its use for it, but again, we talked about like docking not necessary. If you're looking for a very good, like a hefty handheld, it seems like a good choice.
I think one of the really kind of deceptive things about it is you see the size of it when you take it out, but then you hold it in your hand, and it's actually slightly lighter than the Switch.
Yeah, and I noticed that immediately whilst
Yeah.
playing, and it was like a weird sort of conjunction between like. It's the Switch's sort of weight, but the actual size of it in my hand felt a lot more like the Wii U, and I had to sort of rack my brain to get it to comply with that.
I also think it's maybe ways similar to the original Switch model, but the OLED model, because it's got a slightly, it's a more metal finish to the body is slightly heavier.
Okay.
So that's maybe why I'm thinking that's lighter than the Switch, because I have the OLED one.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm not sure if I've convinced anyone to buy it. Obviously, there's no visual here.
I mean,
so
I'm
that's
pretty
sorta-
tempted. It's fucking spenny as hell.
Oh, hold on. We should have talked about the storage real quick, just because I remember, was it you that mentioned more games or something?
I don't know.
Oh,
at
you
this point.
mentioned the 256 gigabyte version.
Yes.
Yeah, being like optimal in between, and I have to say,
No.
I'll pull up my storage real quick, and
Is it already full?
You'll see. Yeah, thank you.
I'll take it.
Woo. Is it going to get us copyright struck? Oh, good, it's muted because it's played in the One Piece one, so that would have got us
I muted
copyright
it
struck.
when you guys talked about hearing it.
It's
I mean,
weird.
it's their fate.
It hasn't played like them that frequently before. I have a Doctor Who one too. I want to show you. Yeah. So if I go into settings. Oh, a weird thing that I had with Final Fantasy XIV just before I checked.
Don't get too distracted.
No. This is a real quick thing. In game, at the top corner, you can have it set up to show your local time as well as server time. I'm not sure. I have server time turned on. Not sure why, because it moves at like a minute per second or something. No, not that fast, but you get the idea. It's much faster. The in-game time originally was an hour off of local time, like actual. And I checked the settings. It says it was GMT, but I then went into the desktop mode and it was in a weird time zone that wasn't here, but it wasn't Europe either.
Universal time?
No, because UTC should have lined up too, because we're currently in
Yeah.
UTC.
Yeah, because that's us. We are Universal.
Because we're not currently in BST
No.
either. Yeah, so I just switched it to GMT, and then had to figure out how to switch the 24-hour clock back off, because it's not immediately there for you to do that. Because for some reason the 24-hour clock was tied to the British layout of stuff.
I can sort of get that, because I think most of the time we do use like 24-hour time.
Yeah, I'm just not sure why it would have been a thing I couldn't immediately
They just
say
probably
don't
didn't
do
care
that.
enough for like people who don't like 24-hour time. Most of the time.
So I have
Couldn't be me.
So yeah, 938 gigabytes is the actual onboard memory that you have accessible to you. I currently have 292 gigabytes free, which is with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22... No, 20 games installed. The biggest of them being Halo Master Chief Collection, and then Final Fantasy VII. But if you had a 256 gigabyte model, you could only get MCC, Final Fantasy VII, and Armored Core on there.
And that's very limiting.
Yeah.
So that sucks.
So depending on the games you want to play, depends on the mileage you're going to get out of that storage. Because once it drops from like the Wolfenstein games here, it's like quite a nosedive of how big a game is. So it's like
sub 50.
And then you drop from 20 to 10ish, and then down to like the single digits of gigabytes.
Single digits, and like you're currently at like 1 gig.
Yeah, so these are Proton things. I'm not sure. Those are system things. I'm not sure what they do. But yeah, so that's not many games installed, taking up most of the space.
So not ideal.
Not 100% ideal. If you were to buy the lower size, it is making me very glad I did plump for the 1 terabyte instead of the 512 gig. So yeah, that's my final sort of closing thought. Another cool thing about it, real quick, if you download a game and you've got it on your PC and it's on, it will actually be a much faster download because it'll just local file transfer from your PC.
Nice.
Yeah, so I downloaded Armored Core to my PC first because it took 5 minutes, and then downloaded it to the Steam Deck after that. Because if not, it would have taken, I think, an hour or something.
Yeah.
Because even connecting to my 5 gigahertz band, which is faster, it didn't hit anywhere near the peak download speed that you could get from local file transfer.
You're gonna show me the Doctor Who thing?
Oh yeah, I'll do that when we're done.
Yeah, so like I'm telling you not to zip it.
Yeah.
Like,
so yeah, that's the Steam Deck. I'm
It's
in
cool.
no
I
way
like it.
sponsored by Valve. I
No.
just think it's a really cool piece of tech that I wanted to talk about.
hashtag not an ad.
I'm sure there's more stuff I'll find about it later.
We may do a part 2 follow-up eventually.
Maybe
We'll see,
a
yeah.
year in, we'll see.
It's shit. It's all turned to shit.
I hate it. It burned my hand.
So yeah, thank you for listening to this where I've pretty much talked for most of this episode.
I
Jesus.
enjoyed playing games for like 20 minutes of this episode.
Molina
so I'm
was
happy.
here.
I was here. I was present.
You
You
asked
were observing,
questions, so that's-
and learning.
So yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.